didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Hold it out. Okay. Why do you even want to call that case?
Shooting out the rear window toward my direction. Stand by. Don't make me do this. Don't do this.
Courtroom 360 Insights. Kid murder. Kid murder? Man, what the hell? Dylan Schumacher was a 16-year-old dumb male from Buffalo, New York. His girlfriend, Ashley Smith, was a 19-year-old mother of two boys named Austin and Christopher. On March 19th, 2013, Ashley went out to work while this idiot watched the boys. At 8:20 p.m., dumb Dylan realized Austin was unconscious and was actually smart enough to call the police and Ashley. According to dumb Dylan, when Ashley left, Austin fell down and got injured. Dumb Dylan didn't realize this Angel Austin autopsy will say different.
New at 5, a teenager from Springville has been found guilty of killing his girlfriend's little son. This afternoon, a jury convicted Dylan Schumacher of the highest charge possible in this case. He beat Austin Smith to death because the boy wouldn't stop crying. That child was just 23 months old.
Don, the jury did convict Dylan Schumacher of the most serious charges. They could have gone with manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide.
Baby killer, and we thought we had a good case.
Prosecutors were able to prove that the night 16-year-old Dylan Schumacher was inflicting the fatal injuries to little Austin Smith, who was 4 days away from celebrating his second birthday. Schumacher's intent was to kill the child.
Clearly, if a child or any human being is suffering multiple injuries over a period of time, that conduct is not accidental.
Dylan the dum-dum had the audacity to say he didn't mean to kill the toddler.
Schumacher admitted in statements to authorities and to the jury that when Austin had acted up, he had struck the child, later putting a pillow over the boy's head while striking him again in the head. He claimed he never intended to seriously injure Austin.
Dylan's dumb sister said he wasn't experienced in babysitting.
Schumacher's sister, Alex, quickly left the courthouse after the verdict. She had earlier said her brother had just snapped, not having been experienced in babysitting.
Dylan's grandmother disagreed.
I don't think he started that way when he initially hit him. I don't think it initially was intent. I think it became intent. At some point, I think he crossed over into intent.
Dylan's defense attorney pushed for the least sentence, which was 15 years to life. Their claim, he was inexperienced in handling children and had problems controlling his anger. Dylan told the jury that his actions were not intentional, and he didn't even believe that he had the strength to kill anyone. Like, really? You that dumb Dylan? You were hitting a 1.5-year-old toddler. That's like Maui coming to land a smackdown on you. Like, do you think you would survive that, you dummy? Let's watch Dylan crying like a dummy.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him. I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
Pathetic. Man up and don't drop the soap. Do you feel sorry for this dummy? Do you believe he's remorseful? Yeah, I didn't, and the judge didn't either.
The record will show that you admitted that on July 23rd, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
Oh my God, this fool got caught. Look at his face. Dylan was given 25 years to life. However, despite how grievous the crime he committed was, the Court of Appeals freaking reduced Dylan's sentence to 18 years to life in February 2016. This means that he is eligible for parole in 2031. If you think this case is extreme, check out this family killer. Nehemiah Griego Nehemiah Griego was born in March 20, 1997. He was a 7th out of 10 children in a Christian family in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Griego and his family volunteered for services in church and active in missionary work in Mexico. Seems he grew up in a good home. But what would drive him to do this?
Nehemiah Griego was just 15 years old when he shot his brothers and sisters who were just 9, 5, and 2 years old. For their murders, he was sentenced to 30 years behind bars today. He also shot his mom and dad. For their deaths, he was sentenced to 7 years behind bars. Griego will get credit for time served, which is about 7 years.
This poor family. It's one thing to shoot your parents, but then to turn around and kill your young siblings? His confession seems completely heartless.
Pulled it out. Pulled the trigger. Where did you mean the gun? Her face.
He sat emotionless as he recounted shooting his mother and brother first, then his 2 younger sisters who were asleep in the next room.
I just couldn't sleep. I had a hard time sleeping. So what did you do when you went in your sisters' room? You know, I completely turned off my conscience. I really did. You know, I just let the beats come out.
Then he waited for hours until his father got home from work before opening fire.
Fired 4 or 5 times. Did you fire again after he was on the ground? Yeah, I shot him. Grabbed his face.
Lawyers in the case would say he had a retarding mental capacity, possibly schizophrenia from his parents who constantly kept the kids in the house most of the time. That's wild. If being a strict parent causes schizophrenia, or maybe Nehemiah is just a psychopath who didn't get his way. You think killing his own family was bad enough? Nope. This psychopath proceeded to his girlfriend's house to kill her parents and to Walmart to kill more people. What the freak? Thank God this stupid plan of his didn't fall through. On February 16, 2016, Judge Ron Romero of the Juvenile District Court sentenced Nehemiah as a child murderer in New Mexico. He also had access to a mental counseling and would be released on his 21st birthday on 20 March 2018.
Well, Kim, it was a full courtroom today as both sides argued over the killer's future, and even his own family members say he's not ready to be back out in society.
It's really surreal just to be here. It's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions. You know, the 5-year anniversary was a few days ago, and so I know it's a lot. You know, he murdered 5 people, and for him to do that, I don't think anybody can come back from that.
Griego faced up to 120 years for the murders, but a judge decided to sentence him as a juvenile, which means he's supposed to get out of juvenile jail on March 20th when he turns 21. But his big sister says he's not ready.
Just some of the things that he told me when I would visit him in jail, and the reason I stopped talking to him is because of some of the things that he said that were not right.
Attorney General Hector Balderas is now appealing the decision to let Nehemiah out in March.
The district attorney's office should have never pled this case down from a first degree down to a second degree.
At the Court of Appeals today, the state and defense argued their cases.
The fact that Nehemiah killed his own family reflects just how detached, callous, and brutal he was capable of being.
The state quoting expert opinions from past hearings.
It was a horrible crime. He used more than one gun. 5 people ended up dead. But everyone agreed that he was still rehabilitatable.
But the judges had some questions over whether or not experts believed Griego would be fully rehabilitated by his 21st birthday. The AG says no.
There is a dramatic need for additional treatment in this case.
And Nehemiah's sister agrees.
I personally would like him to stay behind bars. I think he is a danger to society, and I think he's a danger to our family.
In January 2018, an appeal was presented, indicating that Nehemiah was not fit for public release. His lawyers appealed to the Supreme Court, but it was denied without any explanation. The court ruled that Nehemiah would be sentenced as an adult on the 9th of August, 2019. Nehemiah apologized for his actions.
I am sorry for taking our parents and our sins. You know, I wish I could take it back. Reality is that we can't. I want no retaliation. I love you guys, and I want to see the best for y'all. And whatever you may do, and I do pray for you guys to have healing the way I'm having healing.
On the 1st of November, 2019, Nehemiah was sentenced.
The state Supreme Court has upheld the life sentence for Nehemiah Griego, who killed his family when he was just 15. Griego shot and killed his parents and 3 younger siblings at the family's South Valley home in 2013. Griego was initially sentenced as a juvenile, but before he got out at 21, prosecutors successfully argued that he had not been rehabilitated and was still a danger. So a judge then sentenced him to a life sentence. Well, Griego's attorneys appealed, arguing that sentence was cruel and unusual punishment. The Supreme Court has now rejected those claims. Now 25 years old, Griego is eligible for parole when he is 52. And this afternoon, Griego's attorney, Allison Jaramillo, issued a statement saying, in part, it is easy to give up on children who commit terrible crimes and write them off as hopeless. But the truth is, these crimes are rooted in trauma and mental illness, and many of the children involved can and will eventually be rehabilitated. She added New Mexico should protect children from the cruel fate Nehemiah is now facing, not give up on them. Griego's legal team says it is considering its next steps.
This psycho took 5 lives, and he will be eligible for parole in his 50s. That's wild. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Lionel Tate was a 12-year-old boy who loved watching and recreating wrestling moves. His mother, Kathleen, was babysitting 6-year-old Tiffany Unick. On the night of the incident, Kathleen felt tired, so she decided to go upstairs and rest for a bit, hoping that Lionel and Tiffany are fine on their own. This was not the case.
In August 1999, 12-year-old Lionel Tate became one of the youngest Americans ever charged with first-degree murder. The victim, 6-year-old Tiffany Unick. Tate claimed he had injured the girl accidentally while roughhousing, but an autopsy report indicated she had been savagely beaten. The drama that unfolded would include a young boy's journey through the adult criminal courts, a mother's risky attempt to protect her son, and a defense strategy that put professional wrestling in the spotlight.
Lionel said he and Taylor were playing tag when she complained of a stomachache that night.
We were running in the house and I grabbed her like playing tag, and
how'd you grab her?
Like grab like how you grab somebody.
Lionel indicated that he came up behind her and squeezed her tight. When he did that, Tiffany yelled out and put her hands to her side of her body, the same side that's consistent with where her liver is.
He now said that at some point, Tiffany hit her leg against the stairs and then went to the bathroom and vomited. When she returned, Lionel said, she told him she was tired and lay down.
And then after that, she went to sleep, and I saw her head like twisted. Like her head was off the pillow, and I moved her back on the pillow. And when I was removing my hand, she had hit her head.
The police believed his story, not until an autopsy was performed.
But on July 29th, the day after the death, a medical examiner performed an autopsy on Tiffany Unick. What she found stunned police. The 48-pound first grader had sustained more than 35 injuries, including brain hemorrhages, a cracked skull, a fractured rib, and lacerated liver. According to the medical examiner, the injuries were so severe that they could only have been inflicted intentionally. Tiffany's death was ruled a homicide.
Lionel, a 170-pound boy, wrestling a 48-pound little girl. Here's Lionel doing a demo.
Show me exactly how hard. Like that, okay, like that.
Yes, sir.
And then what? You were punching her out.
Like this.
And then what happened?
Then she put it like that.
Okay.
Lionel demonstrated a series of wrestling moves he says he performed on the little girl.
He was up here.
Yeah.
And then when I was doing this against the couch,
Yeah.
I threw her like this.
Okay. Show me exactly.
She was like this.
Okay. And she hit this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Show me how she hit this.
She hit it like this.
Okay.
He didn't once think to himself, he's hurting her. That's crazy and a damn hard pill to swallow. After 3 hours of severe deliberation, it was said that Lionel Tate would go on to be sentenced to life in prison.
On August 11th, a grand jury convened in downtown Fort Lauderdale to determine what charges, if any, to bring against Lionel Tate. Within hours, Ken Padowitz walked out of court to make a startling announcement.
Broward County Grand Jury has met in the investigation of the death of Tiffany Unick and has voted to indict the defendant, Lionel Tate, for first-degree murder.
Judge Joel T. Lazarus handed down the sentence. His ruling caught a lot of attention, and many felt that the state of Florida had been too harsh on Lionel, even the victim's mother.
Even Tiffany's mother, Delise Unick, felt a life sentence would be too harsh.
Yes, he murdered my daughter. I don't expect him to just get up and walk free. I didn't expect that at all. But at the same time, my heart was set on what can you do, you know, to help him.
Kathleen Tate and other supporters fought for Lionel's release. Their work paid off. In January, Lionel's conviction was overturned.
Lionel Tate's competency, it said, had not been evaluated prior to his trial. Therefore, he should be granted a new trial. To avoid yet another emotional trial, prosecutor Ken Padowitz again offered a plea bargain to Lionel Tate. The deal called for Tate to plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for the 3 years in prison he had already served, 1 year of house arrest, and 10 years probation.
It was the same exact plea offer that I had engineered 3 years earlier. Lionel Tate had a second bite at the apple.
This time, Tate, now a tall, thin 16-year-old, accepted the offer. To both those who had supported Tate and many of those who had helped convict him, his release was a welcome end to a tragedy that nearly claimed a second life.
In May 2005, less than a year and a half into his 10 years of parole, Lionel Tate was arrested for robbing a pizza delivery man at gunpoint. His probation was revoked, and he was returned to prison to await trial on the new charges. For American Justice, I'm Bill Curtis.
This case is heartbreaking. Some argue because Tate spent some time locked up. That just set him up for failure once released. Tate idolized wrestling. This next case is another idolized freaking fiction character, Slender Man.
She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Waukesha, Wisconsin, just outside Milwaukee. And on a Saturday morning this past May, a horrific tale is just beginning to emerge.
Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing has got blood on it.
Okay, and you found her and she was just laying there?
Yeah.
A birthday sleepover with 3 12-year-olds the night before. And now 2 girls are missing. The other, Peyton Leitner, has somehow crawled out of the woods, covered in stab wounds. 19 of them. She's now being wheeled into the operating room, having just told her mother her friends did this to her.
They had run away and the police hadn't found them yet. And we just knew that Peyton told us Morgan stabbed her and the police hadn't been able to find the girls.
And in fact, police believe those girls were walking.
Yeah.
They were going to find a mansion in the woods.
Oh, the mansion, yeah, the mansion in the woods. They were going to the Nicole forest because they believed that there was a mansion there that Slenderman lived in.
Incredibly, police say those girls were now headed to find a mansion where they believed a fictitious internet character truly lived. A character named Slenderman, who police say they were hoping to impress.
This poor girl. That's wild these 2 12-year-old girls plotted a whole damn crime for Mr. Slenderman.
There's this website called the Creepypasta Wiki. Okay. It's full of like horror stories that are meant to purposely scare you. And there's one of them called Slenderman.
Slenderman, the mysterious and unsettling horror character depicted as a faceless, elongated figure with multiple tendrils dressed in a dark suit. Although they're in separate interrogation rooms, both Morgan and Anissa provide the same motive for trying to kill Peyton, or whom they called Bella.
He has these proxies or servants, as people call them, and Morgan said, "Hey, Anissa, we should be proxies." I was like, "Okay, how would we do that?" She said, "We have to kill Bella because we had to supposedly prove ourselves worthy to Slender."
How many times do you think you stabbed her?
I don't know. It happened very quickly. All I heard was screaming. I said, "I'm sorry."
And this is why parents should be cautious about what their children are watching. Listen to these little wicked witches talk about their disgusting crime.
Morgan jumped on top of Bella and started stabbing her repeatedly, and that's when I turned around because I couldn't stand to see that.
And then we said that we were going to play hide and seek, and then Anissa jumped her.
Who stabbed her first?
I think Anissa stabbed her first, and then I continued, and then she was like, Morgan, make sure she doesn't escape! And then it was like, Anissa said that she'd go get help. I didn't have anything to do with the lying, well, that was all Anissa.
Morgan sound like a freaking little liar, and Anissa sound like a freak. Morgan and Anissa were charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. In 2016, there was an extensive argument that eventually got the Court of Appeals. It was to decide if both defendants, who were then 14 years old, would be tried as adults.
In 2017, Anissa changes the game. She agrees to plead guilty to attempted second-degree intentional homicide, but she wants a trial to determine if her mental illness excuses her from being criminally responsible and ultimately from winding up behind bars.
You have to realize it wasn't just one doctor or two doctors that found that Anissa had a mental health issue during the time that this crime happened. There was a third doctor. That third doctor was actually a doctor that was assigned by the court.
That very same month, Morgan follows suit. She pleads guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide. In this agreement, prosecutors don't fight the mental illness question. Instead, they resolve that she should remain at a psychiatric health facility.
Here's a little witch's apologies.
I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen. I hope that she's doing well.
Weier continues to believe that Slender Man is real. She also stated that as recently as July 2017, she believed that an evil spirit was pushing down on her bed after the spirit had been let out of a homemade Ouija board. She has been convinced by another inmate who is a devil worshiper that her co-actor, meaning Ms. Geyser, is possessed. What's best for the community may not be what's best for Anissa Weier. As much as we can sit back and say, I will never do that again, and I think it's sincere, I'm not criticizing her for saying it, we don't know.
Anissa was ordered to spend the next 25 years in a mental hospital.
The circumstances of the Weier case are different than they were in this case. The biggest underlying difference is the long history of delusions. When she saw the Slender Man silhouette, she said she recognized that as a man who had visited her throughout the years when she was 3 or 4. She poses a significant risk of bodily harm to herself, others, or to property.
The judge sentenced Morgan to 40 years of institutional care.
After her statements, the judge sentenced her to 40 years of institution care. After time passed, Morgan's lawyer was appealing the case, saying that she couldn't have been tried as an adult. However, Peyton Leutner has moved on with her life and intends to go on to be in the medical field, but she still hasn't forgotten what happened to her. Travis O'Brien, 12, and Nicole Jackson Maldonado was a 14-year-old girl who lived in group homes, foster care, and continuously got into trouble. Nicole created a YouTube channel venting about her situation.
Nicole decided to make a YouTube channel, and although it has since been removed off YouTube, we can pull a report to take a close look into her mind. As you guys know, I'm actually in a group home. It's a very sad story. I actually just came into the system. I turned 13 in February of 2020, and last May, talking of 2019, I was in a group home as well. I used to keep getting kicked out of my group homes. It was because for some reason I would run away, I was depressed. If you guys know what a group home is like, tell me how you guys, talking of our YouTube audience, are feeling. In my first 2 group homes, I got into so many fights and so I ran away. The third one was more like a shelter if anything. It was bad. It's really sad. and I've been thinking about it for 2 days now to tell you guys what's wrong with me.
Growing up in situations like this doesn't surprise me when they become disturbed humans constantly causing trouble. June 2nd, 2021, Travis and Nicole ran from the police, broke into a home, and got into a whole heap of trouble.
Investigators say Jackson, who was 14 at the time, along with another boy, ran away from their foster home, broke into a home in Enterprise, and used guns in that house to shoot at deputies.
Shooting out the rear window toward my direction. Stand by. Don't let me do this. Don't do this.
Nicole Jackson and Travis O'Brien were charged with attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer and burglary of the dwelling while armed, respectively.
15-year-old girl charged with getting into a shootout with Volusia County deputies takes a plea deal. Nicole Jackson is one of 2 children, deputies say, broke into a home, then used the homeowner's guns to fire at law enforcement. Jackson pleaded no contest to the charges today. News 6's Molly Reed was in the courtroom.
I understand we will proceed right to sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
For the last year and a half, Nicole Jackson has been in the Volusia County Jail, even spending her 15th birthday in there. But this afternoon, Jackson pleaded no contest to attempted murder of an officer, burglary with a firearm, and criminal mischief.
No contest.
Records show both children have extensive mental health histories. Because of that, News 6 chose not to name Jackson in previous coverage. But because she's been convicted as an adult now, we've reversed course. The boy, who is now 13, was charged as a juvenile and pled no contest last March.
Those decisions from day one are the state attorney's decisions. We just wanted people held accountable.
Sheriff Mike Chitwood, along with the 2 deputies the teen shot at, were in the courtroom.
You can't shoot at the police. You just can't do it. Somebody's got to stand up for law enforcement. We are not punching bags. It doesn't matter what the age is.
Now, Jackson was already facing charges up in Flagler County at the time of this shootout for setting several small fires up there. She pleaded to those charges here today, too, as part of that deal. So in total, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison and then a total of 40 years probation after prison. In Daytona Beach, Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed, getting results, News 6.
May God have mercy on your soul, because we don't. Courtroom 360 Insights.